Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Probably take just a minute here and give everybody a minute to join us and to get set. Please do let us know in the chat if there are any sorts of audio issues, video issues, whatever it may be.
You could see a dog flying around here.
You might see some dogs, yes.
So lots going on over here now that we're back in the office. Hopefully some of you have been able to get back in person as well and make some good connections again.
All right, I'm also going to share some slides here just to get us kicked off. So we'll take another minute here.
We can't see faces. I don't know if anybody's going to end up showing their camera, but hopefully towards the end, maybe if anybody wants to jump in and ask questions live, it's nice to see some customers live again. And as I'll mention, we're going to be back on the road much more in 2022. So would love to meet you all live if haven't already met you. So we'll be talking about that as well as we get in.
All right.
We had to make a last minute room change, so forgive us as we kind of be thinking on the fly. Perfect. All right. Looks like we are, fingers crossed, screen sharing.
Good to go. All right. Well, good. Well, first off, I'm going to actually stop sharing for just a second. I do want to introduce Bree. Bree Aletto is Altvia's new president and CEO. We're extremely thrilled to have her. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? We've got some slides here.
Yeah, absolutely.
On some background, so we'll flip to that here in a minute, but do take a minute and introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. And I've maybe met some of you in the past because I was actually running operations for a little over a year here at Altvia before, becoming CEO. So I joined, like I said, roughly a year ago. I guess it is almost exactly a year ago, but spent the first year running operations, getting a lot of hiring done, which you'll see, kind of productizing, solidifying some elements related to how we support our customers. As you've probably seen some new faces, we've certainly increased our headcount, but hopefully you haven't seen any changes as we continue to grow and scale in our premium support model. So super proud of our team. And I think, the number one thing we hear back from customers is certainly their relationships they have with their CSMs and our support staff. So really proud of that team and so excited to be leading this company. I got lucky by way of inheriting some great things that Jeff and some of the others that have been here for a long time have certainly put in place here and an amazing customer base. So I'm excited to meet all of you if I haven't already, and please don't be shy in reaching out. We'll put my contact information towards the end. And like I said, don't be shy in reaching out and we'll be hitting the road. So would love to meet you live. And hopefully we'll be doing some live events as well in 2022. So by way of my personal life, I'm a Midwesterner, so moved here about 15 years ago out to Colorado. If any of you have been to Colorado, you know why I haven't left. And certainly feel free. Like I said, we would welcome you in Colorado. We're about to hit our fun winter months. I've got two kiddos, 10 and 7, and they are big into all things Colorado. So we'll be skiing pretty much every single weekend here coming up pretty soon. And have a great relationship, by the way, with Kevin. So Kevin's still, a couple streets down from us and stops by often in the office, and he's sitting on our board. So I have immense respect for Kevin Kelly, and I know a lot of you do and have great relationships with him. So don't be shy in reaching out to him as well on an ongoing basis. So happy to finally say hello live, and certainly we'll be sharing some really exciting things we've been doing here over the past year.
Yes. One of which is a big plug on this slide for Preferred Return, the podcast. So I had no idea you were a listener and a subscriber, but thank you. For the rest of you that may not be aware, we are hosting a podcast. I'm hosting it, and we've got all sorts of wonderful guests talking about all sorts of things in the market, and you can find it on Spotify, all the different podcast platforms, and it's called Preferred Return. So please give it a listen, and thank you in advance.
And most importantly, if you'd like to be a guest.
Oh, yes, please do.
We're always looking for guests.
Yep.
So.
Good. Let's carry on here because you had just mentioned some of the exciting things that had happened this year. So we are going to get into some of the things that we've been working on with our products and some of the things that we will continue to be working on. But I do want to take a moment. It's been an amazing year. Look at this. We did not make up these numbers. They sort of look like a slide that's like up and to the right, all the good things. But what a year! As many of you know, we had an opportunity to take capital in 2020, about midway through the year through Bow River capital partners here in Denver. And so at times you could convince us, I think, that it's been 18 months, and at times feels like it's been 18 days, but tremendous amount of growth, all sorts of new people. And today, maybe the most we've had in the office since COVID.
Super exciting. Yeah.
Maybe have 30 people here today. So it's really exciting and great energy in the office. Recently won an award for best workflow tool from PE Wire. So we're very appreciative of that. Bree had mentioned, quite a bit about the last 18 months with Bow River, spending a lot of time and investing a lot into support and implementation and customer success. You were primarily the one leading those efforts. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are other elements, certainly, as we look at that 90% headcount growth. The other large team that saw that headcount growth is our software and engineering, or our product and engineering teams. So that'll obviously lead into some of the things that you'll see that we've been working on, and also want to highlight and preview some things that will continue to come. So between those two areas of our business, I would say is where we really invested and spent a lot of time staffing up, and certainly a lot of investment dollars just surrounding those two areas of our business. And so I think it's certainly reflected in our NPS and our net retention numbers. And a lot of these new logos and faces here we're super proud of, but we're also we've also been able to grow our relationships with our existing customers, as you can see here. So hopefully today you'll see some additional product offerings and things that we have, like I said, kind of been working on here, so that you can continue to expand your partnership with us. That's the goal, is to continue evolving and innovating and being more cutting edge, so that you all can be implementing more tools, and certainly we can be helping you as you manage your LP relationships and your deal flow and all the day-to-day relationships that you're managing within your firms. So
yeah.
With that.
So exciting, though. I just have to take a minute. I'm always so happy to see logos. It's just so exciting to see the people that we work with. We're tremendously grateful to work with you all. And there's still times when, slides like this or on the website that get a little emotional, looking at some of these logos. We're so fortunate to get to work with you all. So thank you so much for the trust. With that, yes.
Yeah, and I will say the last piece related to the support model, hopefully you all have seen maybe a couple new faces. We certainly began having more of an actual support desk and support team that then oftentimes, we call it our farm system, get promoted, and we are able to offer these great opportunities. And you've seen some hopefully talented folks that have started supporting your accounts. I'd love to shout them all out, because they're all amazing, and they're constantly winning our internal awards as well. So please feel free to submit your customer service surveys, and they certainly get all the kudos around here, but we love to hear from you as well on anything that you're seeing related to those new hires, and also the existing hires that have been here forever and certainly been helping us. And I'd maybe push it back to you as we're going through kind of some product elements. And Jeff has been here. I'm sure a lot of you have been familiar with Jeff for many years. So in the past, 10-ish years, you continued to kind of bootstrap the business. And then over the last year, we took outside capital. So I would ask you now, leading into some of the things you've been working on, what are the big changes you've seen? And then we can lead right into the product developments.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll talk very specifically. By the way, I just noticed that we had a fancy animation here, one logo that was missing. So what a great use of a PowerPoint animation. Sorry, North Pond. Welcome to the family. So yeah, I'll jump right in here and just kind of tell you about a couple of the things that we're working on thematically. I think you'll find these things all, kind of more or less fit together. But want to start out with Preqin. So many of you may know that, we've had a long history with Preqin. It's been sort of an interesting one. Preqin is clearly the kind of market leader in at least, institutional LP data, certainly making moves as well in deal-related and operating company target data. But interesting history. Preqin had built their own Salesforce integration years ago and struggled with, kind of development on the Salesforce platform. And that integration ultimately kind of, I think ended up being sunset just a couple of years back. We had for a long time been encouraging Preqin to open up their API and let developers like us actually develop rich applications that fit into the context of our apps, instead of kind of just generically with Salesforce. And so we are proud to announce, perhaps you've seen some of the emails, that we are officially launching our own homegrown, home-built Preqin integration for AIM. So I'm going to show it to you here just at a basic level, and I'll talk a little bit about where we intend to take this. It's very exciting to be at this point now, where we do have the ability to kind of control a little bit more about how Preqin and data can integrate with AIM. So I'm going to drag a tab over here, and I realize that's a little bit small here, so I'll zoom in just a little bit and take it back to the home tab here. So I want to make sure we're good and we're sharing the right screen. It looks like we are, and please do, anybody jump in, questions, thoughts. Certainly let us know if you aren't able to see or hear something. That would be very important for us to know. But a little bit on the Preqin thing, and I guess first off, this is now officially available. So if you are interested in kind of trying out or getting what you see here today, reach out to your customer success manager, to our support team, or to anybody for that matter, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. But the short and sweet is that we fully integrated Preqin now into AIM in a sort of native fashion here. I'll show you just kind of a couple of the workflows here that become available. I want to talk a lot about where we intend to go and build stuff out here. But just at sort of a basic level here, if I came in and I wanted to search for, now what I'm doing effectively is I'm searching Preqin for, an institutional LP of some sort, or really any account for that matter. And if I wanted to go ahead and bring in Harvard Management Company, do that, you'll notice this is going to fit into the context of, AIM customizations that you have. So, many of you might have some customizations for account record types, and that's going to fit kind of natively and turn out just fine for you. That was one of the super important things for us to control as we built this ourselves. So go through just a couple of steps here. You'll notice that it's going to start to kind of pre-populate some fields. For now, there are kind of limited, fields that we're populating. We do intend to continue to develop this quite a bit. We're really excited. And that would, one of the plans would be to allow you to bring in virtually the entirety of the data that Preqin makes available via their API. So once I finally get through here, I'll end up having created this account. So that's great news, right? As many of you are well aware, it's no fun necessarily to have to kind of type those things, much less copy and paste them. Problem solved here for you. Now, taking it one step further, this is probably, one of the most kind of practical time savers for many of you. Once I've got that Preqin account all set up, I can go ahead and just in one kind of swoop here, choose all of the contacts and all the contact information that Preqin has for this organization. So I'll just go ahead and click all of those and bring them in. Now we're going to be doing behind the scenes here. We may even see, okay, it's perfect. So we did not find any of those contacts as existing contacts in AIM previous to this. So we will do some alerting to you if we detect that we're trying to kind of create some duplicate contacts, which is a problem many of us well know. So there we go. We're good to go. Now the other kind of simple use case here would just simply be to enrich an account. Now, as it happens, you just saw me create this, so I don't necessarily have anything that's stale here. If I had an account that wasn't created using the Preqin integration, then I could still enrich it and try to match that up, and choose any of the data that Preqin has to potentially overwrite any of the data that you already have. You can be very selective about that, so we're not just going to kind of automatically overwrite data for you. Also helps you keep it in sync. So if there's something that an address or contact information that has gotten a little bit stale, just click of a button will help to refresh it. A couple of the things that we plan to do further, which I think is really exciting, is to kind of build a little bit of a Preqin-like interface right from here. What I mean by that is, one of the things that Preqin's so powerful for is for running screens. And so as you think about the top of the funnel and who to reach out to, Preqin's a great tool to say, okay, we want to reach out to institutional LPs that have mandates for this type of strategy, or who are invested in, managers like us, or geographically, those Preqin users will know the extent to which you can do filtering. It would be our intention to be able to kind of use that and to sort of import, big swaths of top of the funnel accounts for you, and then to continue to further integrate it into the fundraising funnel. So in one single step, perhaps to say, okay, create fundraising opportunities for all of these folks and put them in, a certain stage. So that's just really kind of the beginning. We're super excited. This has been a long time coming, a lot of years of planning really and partnering with Preqin and some work on there. And so we're tremendously grateful to the folks at Preqin for the partnership. Super excited about the offering. And again, if you're interested in learning more, please do reach out to us. So anything you would add or any?
Yeah, well, I just have a couple questions. I'm sure that
yes.
On behalf of the customer base and some things that they're probably thinking about. Number one, where do you envision taking, I know you mentioned a couple things, but where do you envision taking this specific Preqin integration to? And then also any other data enrichment providers that we're looking at partnering with?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think that the big sort of plan is to start to use the Preqin screening capabilities in context of the application. So, I mentioned an example of, okay, show us institutional LPs that meet a certain criteria, and then, not only bring those in as accounts, but then start to begin to work them through the funnel. We're super interested in exploring the rest of Preqin's data as well. Like I mentioned, they've made some moves in, operational or operating company and target company data as well. So that's something that we're looking into and we're thinking about as well. As far as other integrations go, I think Preqin was probably the one where the sort of existing Salesforce integration had suffered most, and so that was kind of the first gap for us to fill. As it relates to other ones, there are some interesting new data providers. Really, kind of seems like every day now. But there are certainly the classic ones, the PitchBooks and the Crunchbases and CP Insights and things like that. We do have, the native Salesforce integrations available to us for all of those data partners. I think it would be a matter of us exploring, again, the contextual fit inside the application, right? Not just bringing in sort of, firmographic and contact related information, but bringing it in at the same time in context and saying, okay, let's create deal opportunities to go start calling on those companies. Let's not just bring them in. That saves a huge step for deal teams, for example, at the top of the funnel. So that's really kind of what we're interested in on the integration front, is really taking the integration much deeper than just data and providing the data in the context of the workflow as well.
So two other questions. How difficult is it to get this up and running in someone's current org?
Not at all. It sounds like a blank question.
It was a leading question.
It's not at all. It's excuse me. It is about a 5-minute process for us to get this set up. So really nothing required on your end. We do have sort of contractual obligations with Preqin. So I guess that's worth mentioning. You do need to be a Preqin subscriber. So of course, many of you already are, and that becomes a sort of turnkey thing for you. If you're not, then we can make an introduction and you can talk to the folks at Preqin. There does need to be a contractual obligation, if you will, to Preqin's subscription service. At that point, 5 minutes or so for us to turn it on. So super easy.
Yes. And then now that we've done one, do you feel like the process to do additional ones, you mentioned we've been kind of going through this process with Preqin for a while, to do additional enrichment provider integrations should hopefully be a little more turnkey?
For sure, yeah. As we called out on the previous slides, the headcount growth has been tremendous. Many of you have been to our office here in Broomfield, and I think many of you would be shocked to see what it's like these days, especially like a day like today. A lot of new faces, especially on the engineering team. So we've really grown tremendously on the engineering front, and so there's a certain good problem to have, which is like all these new faces and developing together and fitting into an existing product suite. So that this was a tremendous accomplishment for us to kind of get started with, and certainly from here, I think we've got an outstanding team, one under the belt, and I think we'll be off and running from here.
Perfect. And don't be shy. If you have data enrichment providers you want us to be exploring, please drop those either into the chat or certainly let your CSM know as we kind of take a poll, if you will. I think we have a good sense of which data enrichment providers most of you all are using and which would be the most beneficial to be focusing on. But certainly as we continue to build out a 2022 roadmap, those would be helpful things to be sharing by way of feedback. So
excellent.
Perfect.
That will take us into the next one, and I'm going to reshare the screen here. So another one that we're extremely excited to kind of formally launch here is Tableau CRM integration. So many of you are well aware that Salesforce.com acquired Tableau going back, I guess, probably about 2 years now. And you've even heard from me many times, we're not totally certain quite yet, exactly how this will manifest. Well, we are now, and we're super excited about it. I think that the gist of it, and what we're excited about, is that Tableau is going to start to provide, going the wrong way.
And asking you a quick question before, what do you think compelled Salesforce to purchase Tableau?
Yeah, well,
because I have a feeling that's something that customers can probably relate to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're, just kind of to start with, 2 world-class, enterprise software companies. And I think that, at a basic sort of, business level, makes a lot of sense to have, reps cross-selling products and taking the same product in the same bag at one time. So that always made a ton of sense. I think now that we're seeing how Salesforce is integrating Tableau, I think it makes even more sense to me, at least. And that is, it's starting to provide a much more visual kind of user experience. So where I think that, Salesforce.com historically, and many of you, are well aware of this, has been about kind of entering data and, putting data into forms. I think that we're really now seeing a large push at that platform level to start to become kind of more consumable for users and more helpful for users. And so that's really, I think, the headline is that, the integration with Tableau now starts to almost bring a different user experience and different interface that is a little bit more helpful in finding something that you might be looking for, but which you may not know, right? So if you know the field that you're looking for on the traditional record, you go find it. I think now that the user experience with Tableau CRM sets up to maybe show you something that was maybe a click away or something like that, wasn't obvious to you. So that's really kind of the punchline. And actually, do you want to demo it a little bit for us?
And/or we can pull up just a couple and I can talk to them as we do that. I would love if you wanted to do some of the clicking. We can even go to a couple other slides. I'm a little more slide driven, and then we'll certainly show you it live as well. It drives Debs, as we all know and love him, but it drives him crazy. I'm more of a slide girl. He's more of a demo.
Yeah. Would you want to talk to the slides?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're seeing, again, some screenshots, but we'll show you it live. But I think the important element and the reason I want to show the slides is just to actually call out specifically the differences that you'll see related to the Salesforce embedded reporting function versus what you would get with Tableau CRM. So being able to actually type in queries, as you all know, these are things we're hearing from our customers on a consistent basis. These are things that our CSMs are building reports to help you essentially be able to do these types of things, but they're having to build them for you, as you all know, and trying to help you analyze your data, where this will actually be much more interactive, and you'll be able to have them be dynamic and make changes and actually add, as we'll go to the next slide, you'll be able to add annotations and tag people so that they can review those things. And while we would be happy to support you with continuing to do these types of things, as I know some of you continue to ask your CSM related to reporting elements and building out reports, you also can certainly do this on your own as well. So there are some tools, as we were just showing you, some designer tools, if you will. So if you're familiar with Tableau already, or you have somebody internally that might be able to leverage the tool out of the box, we can certainly show you how to manage those on an ongoing basis without having to ask our team. And then, as I mentioned, again, these are the types of things that I think, are consistently kind of roadblocks with the Salesforce embedded reporting engine, which is that ability to really collaborate with your team via the dashboards. And so, as you can see here, again, so there's some additional features that you don't typically see in the out of the box reporting engine. Anything you'd add there?
No, I mean, I'm going to go back to this slide here. I just love the conversational stuff, and this is the broader sort of analytics category is definitely headed here, and we're doing some interesting things with our answers analytics product as well, and we have we do intend to talk a little bit about the differences here, so I won't scoop that. But some of that kind of natural language processing even allows, for you to ask questions like in Slack and say like, what is, the total revenue growth of the company, our portfolio companies year over year, for example. And so that's this really interesting thing because it starts to take pretty complex data and make it very approachable, I suppose is the word, to the average user to just kind of ask a question that might be logical. And so that's super interesting to me. And I think that the notifications too, that's this thing I love because, again, this concept of like, when you know what you're looking for or the question you have, then these products are tremendous at finding you the answer. What's even more interesting is almost making you aware of the question you aren't asking and in which maybe you should. So the alerts, the notifications for, hey, there's an anomaly in this growth is, maybe, abnormal on the low end or in the high end, or this threshold was just crossed, for example. So, unless somebody's sort of constantly looking for these things and going and trying to find them, it's tremendously difficult to be made aware of those things. And now you can actually just sort of, without even asking the question, be made aware. So super cool. I love that.
Yeah. And that makes a great point. These are some typical use cases that we typically see across the customers. We've piloted this a little bit with 1 or 2 customers, but and certainly been starting to implement more and more. So if you're interested, again, certainly let your CSM know. We do have some out of the box options that can be pretty quickly implemented. But with that said, every customer is a little bit different related to the use cases that they might find valuable. So again, one thing to note here, and we'll get into this when we actually show you the pages, is the availability to put these on the record page, as well as to have main dashboards. So I think that's something that we didn't really call out in the slides, but is an important element because, listen, I'm the first to admit, sometimes when you look at a record page within Salesforce, it's very filled with data. It can be somewhat overwhelming, somewhat boring, to be honest. And especially with a lot of you who are very visual and want to be seeing the data and combining different elements across your database, that's what you're going to see very quickly and easily when you hit a record page. And we're getting some questions, so this is good. Please keep the questions coming, certainly, and we can.
Yeah, let's go ahead and answer this one now because it's perfect with where we're at. So the question is, are the suggested queries in Tableau CRM based on our users and our data, or common queries that Salesforce receives across the industry? So they're going to be the former. Now, they're not Salesforce, across the industry. They're ones that we're sort of coming up with. That's going to be where we do have the ability to kind of, fine tailor those things to you. One of the things that this product and these analytics platforms work on is, machine learning. So there is a point at which the suggested queries start to, do learn from kind of your users and your data. So we're going to start you off at a level that's more specific than Salesforce broadly. And then we're going to have some machine learning help to benefit your own specific users, your own specific data that will start to kind of help inform that sort of stuff. So very good question. Yes. Let's see. A couple of other questions. I might suggest we hold these because we're going to probably likely
answer
to
those.
answer
Yes,
them. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Let's see.
I think if we do just one more slide, which I think would be helpful, just by way of before we're actually in the demonstration, and I'm going to have to probably have. There we go. So Dubs mentioned that our answers tool, which is an important element to be considering because I know some of you are already using the answers tool and there is a difference. And so we're going to go through and we can certainly demo, keep in mind that we can demo the answers tool anytime you're ready for that. But I like to think of it as kind of a crawl, walk, run approach. So crawling is the embedded Salesforce reports that you maybe are already using. Walking would be leveraging Tableau CRM to get those more visual dashboards that you're leveraging really within your CRM data. And then running is going to be more of the answers tool, which again, I'm hopeful that most of you are familiar with, but if you haven't become familiarized with our product, certainly Dubs can give you a quick overview of that and certainly the differences, which we have another slide. It'll show you actually the very formal differences or the specific tactical differences between the three tools.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, if we were to say at a high level, a couple of things that make Tableau CRM different from our Answers analytics product. Number one, Tableau CRM is going to be effectively make use of data really only inside of Salesforce.com, whereas Answers is going to combine data from Salesforce.com together with other applications and other data in flat files like Excel and other application databases. So to the extent that you have, your own SQL databases or Postgres databases or really any data that is sort of outside of AIM, it makes it very easy for us to combine that data with AIM data into a single data set and take away the sort of super time intensive and error prone process you're probably doing to sort of export that stuff, do V lookups and H lookups in Excel, and come up with complicated spreadsheets. I happen to love complicated spreadsheets, but always worry a little bit about what's going on in there. So that's really the problem that we're solving here. Now we're going to take that even further. We're going to allow you to embed that into ShareSecure so that external parties, primarily LPs, LP prospects, can make use of that. So we're seeing some cool use cases for data rooms where the visualization of track record and portfolio company data for LP prospects, or for like capital account data and an existing portfolio company exposure, perhaps on the LP portal side. So those are the two real big differences. One of the things the Tableau CRM is going to do that Answers doesn't is, to your point, provide context on the record in AIM. So as you're looking at, go back a slide here, as you're looking at a specific entity, you're going to have the ability to kind of see Tableau analytics and more kind of interactive visualization of data about this record right there in context. So that's tremendously powerful. So too in this screenshot here, and we'll flip over and show this a little bit, but you're going to be able to kind of interact with the data, maybe click on a part of the pipeline, and then get that resulting list of AIM data right there on that same screen and allow you to kind of click through those and jump right to those records. So that's kind of contextual right there inside the data.
Yeah, if you want to jump in and show the live example, we can hop in here. And one thing to note, I had a pricing line in there, which I'll probably get in trouble for. Take that with a grain of salt. Talk to your CSM, certainly, and we want to understand your needs. And one question that was asked, which we'll certainly get to, is related to pre-quin discounting as well. So happy to answer that. And as we're going through and kind of clicking through this entity example, again, I think the main point here is don't get caught up in what the actual charts look like. The point is to give you the more visual viewpoint, and it certainly can be on the left-hand side, it can be on the top of the screen. There's a lot of flexibility, as you all know. And in this example related to more of a deal record page, we've actually tied in essentially common denominators related to, okay, what other industry type of deals or what other deals have we done within this industry? Where have we lost them? Who's been the deal source? So if we know, again, we're going to kind of focus on one specific industry segment, we know really where we want to go to related to some of those third party intermediaries and deal sources. So, and then our current investments. So here's just, again, kind of tying where you would normally have to go to a multiple. Thank you. Where you normally have to go to multiple places to see this data, it's really on one screen related to your main record page.
Yep.
So it's pulling in, like I said, kind of data from different places, but making it visual within the one record page.
Super cool. And you see a little tease of Slack. We're not going to talk about that today.
I was wondering if you were going to jump in there or not, but we're able to be the beneficiaries of a lot of the R&D and M&A that Salesforce takes advantage of or does in the market. So Slack is another great example of that. You'll be seeing some things coming down the pipeline with that as well. So a lot of exciting things there. And here's just an example of a main dashboard. So as kind of familiar look and feel, if you will, with a traditional Salesforce report, where I think there is a lot of opportunity and difference is certainly the ability to add a multitude of additional filters. So, and I had some filters planned, so I'm sorry that I've got him on the fly kind of helping me out here. Then the ability to, again, add additional filters, set notifications, and you can actually be downloading these as well. So a lot of optionality that, again, maybe you might not have in more of this visual analytical viewpoint that is definitely, if you're familiar with Tableau, definitely built in some of the Tableau aspects directly within the user interface.
Yeah.
Might have to refresh this guy. So, and then another example here, or if you want to go into did we go into the fundraising one?
No,
there we go. Yeah, so if we want to go in this fundraising one, this is again just kind of another example here where you can be filtering down things pretty quickly and easily. Maybe you've got, kind of a co-investment coming up and you want to be taking a look at which of your investors are typically invested in which sector or industry segment. Those are the types of things that, again, we would want to build kind of out of the box for you, but also give you the optionality where you can, make changes very quickly and on the fly here. And then, as we mentioned, all of these are drill down capabilities. So they're dynamic reports. It's not, again, kind of similar to what you're doing today, probably within native sales reports. It's a little trickier and a little harder. You have to go through, really filtering things down. This is much more dynamic and then actually displays the list results underneath, which is nice because you're not, again, going to kind of two different places. So.
Yeah, and I noticed too, for those who work with Craig, he's an active investor. He's seeking mandates. Yeah, so do reach out to him about your next fundraise when you talk to him about support requests, CSM conversations.
Now, don't worry, you'll have a much more thorough demo if you are interested in seeing this more live and one-on-one. Happy to do one-off demos with any of you as you consider this as an option. So I would love to ask you the question, what if they are already Tableau users? How would they use this in conjunction, or does it behoove them to use it separately?
That's a good question.
You weren't ready for that.
No, I wasn't ready. Neither ready nor do I totally know the answer. I think that they're pretty separate, and I'm looking at you now as if to sort of confirm or answer my guess. I do believe that they're really pretty separate. Is that accurate? Yes.
They are separate. Okay, yeah. So you would likely, listen, Tableau, the embedded option is certainly not as robust as Tableau separate. So if you are familiar with Tableau and you do walk into a demo with one of our CSMs, do know, and we're always totally transparent. The goal is to just embed all of this within your current CRM data, but it's not going to have every piece of functionality that you typically see within a separate Tableau instance.
I realized, I'm so sorry, that we were not sharing all of this screen. So I'll hurry and make a couple of clicks here where we...
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
What an amateur move.
That is an amateur move, yeah. Terribly sorry for that, but I guess now all of the sort of pent up things that we were talking about here. So I guess, this one was super cool. This was a super punchy one where we're looking at a deal.
Are we sure we're sharing?
Yes.
Let's make sure.
Yes, we are. Good. All right. And thank you, Celia, for having pointed that out. Unfortunately, we were not seeing that. Okay, so yeah, so this is the great use cases where we're looking at a deal and we're able to visualize other deals we've looked at, maybe where they got to. So, right, I think about the use case of, okay, we source a lot of deals like this. We get to a certain point with them. Maybe I can go to somebody on the team and find out, maybe they've worked a couple of these deals. Maybe there's just something that we can't get comfortable with a deal like this. So it's going to, really present that right in context. No need for you to sort of go to a dashboard. I mean, it's really going to be inheriting the context of what type of deal this is and then displaying those visuals for you.
And deals we passed or lost, why we passed them. Again, it kind of takes into account across various team members that you just pull this one up and it's giving you really visibility across the board.
Yeah, similar deals we actually have gotten done, right? So if we wanted to go kind of learn what we now know about a deal like this in this industry or with this sort of, structure, we can go kind of diligence that ahead of time. So super cool. Again, no need for you to go to a dashboard to say, what deals have we done in this sector? But just by looking at that deal, each deal is going to show you that proactively, and that might give you the thing visually to indicate something that you should go do. So, yeah.
Well, good. I'm sorry about that. Sorry that y'all didn't get to see quite as much as we were hoping, but like I said, if you are interested in setting up a demo, certainly we have a much more robust demo set that we can be showing you. But yeah, here's a couple just quick examples that we wanted to be pulling up, and luckily we built in extra time, so no issues. And if there's anything that you'd like to see, the one thing that might be helpful is to show the difference between answers in these dashboards in case anybody has not seen those. If you want to go to that home screen, we can show those quickly and just show the difference.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess, on the answers front, answers can also be embedded here. And so that's a key thing. So we can also bring answers analytics back into AIM. And so the dashboard here is a good example of it. For many of you, you just sort of look at these and say, oh, they just look like dashboards. And that would be totally fair. A little bit different here in the context of what we're trying to do is provide you a top-down discovery mechanism versus an inline contextual relevance, which means here we're hoping to show you all of your data and you to lead yourself down a path that's interesting. So I think a lot of times, oh, okay, this is a big bubble, right? I may not necessarily be looking at New York, but something's going on there that's interesting. I'll click on that, and that will then take me to filtering the entirety of the dashboard based upon that area. So it might be that now I've learned something about our fundraising efforts or our deal pipeline in this region, just simply because it jumped out to me as like a sort of outlier visually in the data. Whereas the deal example of the Tableau CRM is going to say, hey, here are some other deals and the pipeline those have gone through that are similar to this one, right? So it's sort of a slightly different use case. And again, we can tell you all about that if you are interested in kind of talking more. There's quite a few things to walk you through that we could. So let's go back real quick to the slides here. So again, key difference here that the answers analytics are embeddable, if you will, inside of the LP portal, can make use of external data. So, benchmarks and stuff like that we don't necessarily need to bring into AIM. We can connect to that. We can connect to Google Sheets Live so that you could have users that are just entering data right into Google Sheets or into an Excel file. And all of a sudden that can feel like it's in the CRM without it necessarily being there. And then, of course, some of the other data formats as well. That's just really a subset of many that we can use in answers, and one of the key differences.
Why would someone want to put these in their LP portal?
Yeah, good question. So I mentioned a couple of use cases. So really neat use case that taking that traditional track record spreadsheet, turning it into, and I guess we could show this here.
Now that we've lost out on a few demo items, we'll show you this additionally. So, and as he's pulling this up, we're seeing a number of customers, and I could throw out their names. I don't know if they'd feel comfortable or not, but certainly starting to leverage this more and more. I would say this is definitely the next realm. Document sharing is, kind of table stakes, but really taking it to the next level where you're actually able to make some of these things much more visual. And it's all the same information you're providing to your investors. It's just a matter of actually making it more on demand so that your team's not kind of scrambling, trying to find this data. And then it's a variety of different ways to use this. It's their current commitments, and then it could be even helping you to fundraise for future commitments as well.
Yeah, so popped in here, we're in ShareSecure, the portal product, many of you know. And right here under analytics, we're going to start to provide the user. Now we're just using sort of a preview of one of our LPs here. But a couple of, pretty common use cases we're finding. So number one would be to provide the LP with like a self-service, capital account statement dashboard, if you will, where can look at cash flows, capital account values. They can kind of self-serve the time period they're looking for, and then also take the data with them. So they can take this capital account statement just as it is in an Excel file. Super helpful coming from somebody who used to have to request these of GPs for years, and then ultimately take them out of PDF files and put them into Excel for analysis. Can take these things visually as well. So that's something that we're hearing LPs love, is the ability to sort of take a visual snapshot of their capital account. So that's one use case. Another use case that I had mentioned is taking your track record spreadsheet as you fundraise and turning that into a visual experience where it's maps and all sorts of charts that kind of allow the LP. And I think I've got. So again, here, 73 companies in our track record. Here's where we've invested. Here's the sectors and who led the deals there. Maybe some rounds, pacing of investments by year. Now at the bottom of the screen here, there's a table view that sort of summarizes what we're looking at. So if we pop back up here and we click on San Francisco. That's going to narrow down again everything in real time for the LP, so that they've kind of got. Here is the list of the San Francisco-based investments that you've made. And again, all of these things are very helpful to the LP. They take them with them in their format. So super neat one, super differentiated. This has been really fun to see some of our customers use this type of thing, and then hear in roundabout ways other customers, perhaps not even knowing that we're the one powering the technology, saying, oh, this is super cool what we've seen. So kind of a roundabout way that we've heard about it, and super excited and super proud of things like that. So a couple things, I guess the last example here while we're here is just kind of, passing along the performance of portfolio companies, right? So we've added a little COVID specific thing here where data storytelling becomes an option, where you can sort of set up, okay, well, here's some sectors that the institutional LP might want to assess the risk in. You can kind of lead them down this path, and then ultimately they can see how the portfolio companies are doing. So just a couple of quick examples there. Again, if you want to see more of this stuff, we're happy to show it to you.
Great. So we've got roughly 15 minutes, and we want to leave some time for the questions. So the last piece that I, of course, I'm happy to cover off on would be, number one, just support options. So as you're thinking about, potentially leveraging something like Tableau CRM, we do still offer a premium technical support. Some of you are already leveraging this. We've got incredible resources that, again, some of you might already be leveraging this, but do keep in mind, these are kind of the two different options. We've got lots of Q4 incentives going on, as you can imagine, with any software company. So if you want to learn more about this, don't be shy. Hopefully you're getting great support regardless of which option you're choosing, but certainly the premium technical support just gives you a little more zeroed in. And definitely if you don't have some internal resources managing and helping with your account, it's certainly helpful to have those types of technical resources here and on demand. So with that, I think the last piece is just a question for you, Dubs, which would be, what can customers expect by way of kind of overarching strategy for 2022?
Ooh, good question. So I think that thematically, data integrations are a big thing for us. There's also kind of two other real big, thematic things that we're working on. Number one is interface. So do expect that to see some pretty dramatic and pretty compelling changes coming to Salesforce instance near you, if you will. We realize some of the challenges in certain workflows and inside of AIM, and that's for the most part been the result of us using a tremendously large and tremendously powerful platform. We now are at a scale where we think that we can start to kind of build some kind of custom interfaces to help alleviate some of that. So where you might feel like there's a couple of clicks and a couple of pages away now in how you sort of enter something inside of AIM. That's what we're really working on. It's what Tableau also is helping with on the sort of consumption side. So no need to kind of look for things quite as hard if Tableau can kind of show them to you visually, but it doesn't handle the sort of entering of data, and so that's an area that we're working a lot on. We're really excited to hopefully show some of that stuff here pretty soon. That's a big area for us, and then it also translates into portal. So we see an opportunity to start to take our portal product to a place where it's a little bit more like a CMS perhaps for you. So the ability for you to control a little bit of the kind of layout of what LPs see there, maybe a little bit more marketing like, right? So having some sort of featured news, portfolio company news. Talked to many of you about this, had a conversation yesterday, and the thought, just for example, was like, oh, maybe like some of the public companies in the portfolio having like a ticker or like a real-time sort of pricing type thing. So that's, I think, not necessarily a feature promise per se, but more the intent of trying to help you kind of visualize the way we're thinking about, maybe calendars of anticipated liquidity or annual meeting events, featured content that you've got in the portal. Maybe it's kind of marketing like, maybe controlling some of the ways that people find that content, portfolio company news, things like that. So big interface, sort of overhaul coming there, and some more kind of control drag and drop type widgets where you get to control a little bit more of what the LP sees or the prospect or whoever it may be. So
exciting.
A lot of really exciting things. We're super excited about where we're at. And we'd love to hear from you all. What are certain things that we could be thinking about and working on that would be helpful to you as well. So always love to hear from you.
Feel free to throw anything in the chat and we can answer a couple questions. But yeah, even if you have ideas or want to know if we've thought about something, there's a lot of active conversations going on related to the 2022 product strategy. We've obviously already committed for some things related to the near term, but certainly want to be hearing more and more from the customer base. I think you'll see that as really an open, hopefully you've already been able to provide some feedback, but I would say that's something extremely important to me, is making sure that you feel like you've got an open line of communication with your CSM, with me, with Jeff, who runs our product strategy. So please don't be shy if you would like to reach out to either of us directly. Our email addresses are very complex. Brie, like the cheese, at altvia.com and Jeff at altvia.com. So don't be shy on that. But do we have a couple questions that we want to talk through?
Let's see. Let's go back. So I think you did kind of answer the only, I think, implied question that we didn't answer, which was that are there any discounts on frequent subscription? There's discounts on everything, according to Brie. Yeah, it's fourth quarter, and we're a software company, and we're on pace to set records again this year, and so we're not trying to stop with just setting a record. We're trying to set the bar very high. So
fair.
Incentives.
Yes.
Abound. Yeah, please reach out to us. We'll tell you all about it.
And hopefully the most important part is, as a lot of you who invest in these types of growth focused companies see, we're investing in the support model and we're investing in the product and technology. So you're not going to see that be going down as we continue to grow. And hopefully you'll just be seeing new additional functionality. And if anything does change by way of how you see the support model, and I know that you've hopefully seen that with Altvia, that's something that we've all prided ourselves on for a long time. Please feel free to provide that feedback to us. So any other questions, or anyone happen to want to, I don't know if we even have the capabilities for people to like pop in and say hi, or we host some fun, at least last year we hosted a fun holiday bingo that I would love to see everybody, some folks on again, but yeah, like I said, send in any recommendations or thoughts on, we've got a good crew here, it looks like.
Yeah, super excited to see so many of you. So thank you for joining us. And don't be shy. Reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking about. Let us know what we can be doing to help you. And again, tremendously grateful. We are headed up to Thanksgiving here. Halloween's over, so I won't feel bad about continuing to offer thanks to you all for your trust and your partnership. And we're extremely excited about where we're at. We've been up to a lot of things, and we're not necessarily talking about. Yes, it is.
I didn't plan that.
We did not plan that. Not necessarily talking about all the things that we've been working on here, but there's been a lot going on. We're super excited to show it all to you. So thank you so much. All right. We'll hope to talk to you soon, and hope everyone's well.
Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thanks for joining.